kind of big picture, do you see any of those guys, any of those big names ultimately retiring anytime soon? Because I kind of feel like there's a couple, specifically Kelvin Sampson and Tom Izzo, where they're going to, when they are done coaching, is when they fall over on the sideline directly into their casket. That's how long it's going to be until they're gone.
I think they're going to have to drag Izzo out the building. Other than that, I don't see him retiring soon. It's going to be until Michigan State starts struggling. When recruits stop going and they start struggling and then they make that decision, that's all it's going to take with him. If I had to say a guy, I'd say Bill Self. And the biggest factor would be because of the health issues. I think that's something that none of us know. I mean, what that's like. I mean, he's having procedures done and he's missing time. And you know, we go back a couple of years ago when his team was really good and he had to miss time going into the tournament with that group. As much as he loves it, he's one of the best to ever do it. And he's obviously a Hall of Fame coach, but we're talking about his health. And when you start talking about age is one thing, but health is a totally different thing. And so we're talking about health with him. And he would be the guy that would not surprise me because he's an old school guy as well. And he's trying to adjust through all of this too. I think a combination of his health and having to deal with all this with the great players he's coached, and then he's paying some of these guys that he's probably looking at going, I got to give you $250,000, and you couldn't, you weren't this compared to some of these guys I had. So I'm a huge fan of Bill Self. I think we all are. But when you start talking about health issues with age, that would be the guy that I think that, wouldn't surprise me in a year or two, just says, you know what, I'm done with this.
Borzella?
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with that.
I think my pick would probably be of anybody. If someone did it, I think my pick would be Mark Few. He just seems like the kind of, he's always kind of maintained he's not going to coach until he's 70. He's not going to be I guess a lifer. And there's really no drama with kind of the succession plan there. It was going to be Tommy Lloyd. Now it's going to be Brian Michelson, by all accounts. And so, it wouldn't, that's one where it could happen anytime. And, he's going to do it on his own accord, but that's one where I don't think he's going to, I don't think he's going to deal with rumors for 4 or 5 years. I think, it's going to happen at some point soon. He's going to turn 63 this season. Again, he's been on record saying, I don't want to coach, forever. And so it seems to me that it's, they're not kind of compiling the rosters they used to. It's kind of a different world. All the realignments happening. It seems like, if there was going to be a time, it would be pretty soon.
I think all those guys that hired the successor are already, I think within the next 2 or 3 years for sure, if not this year. I think those, that's why they've done that. We talked about Huss being a head coach. We're not talking about an assistant. We're talking about a guy that was a head coach that went to the NCAA tournament, and he comes in there. You just don't do that. If it was just a high major job, he checked the box with that. He was going to get that anyway. So I think those jobs are sooner rather than later. That's why I said Bill. I think Bill's the one who has a blue blood job and has been, obviously, like I said, Hall of Fame career. It just wouldn't surprise me if, because of the times and health that he calls it a day.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if it's Few. It wouldn't shock me if it's Self after this year. McDermott, obviously, I think it's going to be a year or two if he sticks around too. Alan Huss gets paid, so I don't think it'll be more than 2. The one that I think could happen, especially after watching Bruce Pearl give it to his son, I think Kelvin could do it after this year. He's 70 years old. They had a great chance last year. They have another great chance this year. I think watching Bruce give Stephen Pearl the job kind of at the right time too, right? Give him a team that's got some talent. I think he wants to do the same thing for Kellen. So I think that could happen. Izzo, as you said, I think it's going to take a doctor to tell Tom Izzo when to stop. The name that I want to give you guys that I want to throw out and see what you think. Dan Altman, yeah, that could happen too this year. What about John Calipari? What about if Cal doesn't have some great year this year at Arkansas? He's turned, I think, 67 this year. Could he be a surprise of like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm done. I'm done with this shit. I'm out. I don't know. I'm not saying like I got no insight into it. Obviously,
thinks he probably wants to have one more like great team. Now, I don't know if that's just,
Right.
and again, if it takes a couple more years and he still doesn't have that, then maybe. I just don't think he wants to go out with, left Kentucky, a couple years at Arkansas that, where he didn't really bring them to, as far as he thought he could bring them. It just feels like he's the type of guy that's like, you know what, I want one more really, really great team, one more really deep run in the tournament, and then we'll see. He just kind of has always seemed like that kind of guy to me. I don't think he wants to step down kind of doing what he's done the last 5-6 years.
He doesn't want to limp out. He wants to go out on top. That's exactly who he is.
I think with Kyle, and he also wants to stick it to Kentucky and win something there in Arkansas, and he has the resource. And I think it won't last but a couple of more years anyway, because at some point with the money that he's going to put toward his teams, if he doesn't get over the hump, then you're going to have people saying this is the same stuff that they're going to bring up what they were, harping on at Kentucky. Kyle can't, he won't get the big one. He won't get it. So I think he's more motivated now than ever. But I think this relationship with Arkansas, will be a couple of years, and that's fine. I mean, whether he coaches till he's 70 or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I do think he's motivated to show Kentucky that what they're missing out on.
All right. This is the real fascinating part of this conversation, because we know who's going to replace McDermott, and we know who's going to replace Mark Few, and we know who's going to replace Kelvin Sampson. Dana Altman's at Oregon, which is like the face of the Nike brand, right? We have Bill Self at Kansas, which is one of the biggest programs and maybe a top 3 job in the sport of college basketball, somewhere around there. And we have Tom Izzo and Michigan State. So, Goodman, I'll go to you first. Bill Self, Kansas. If he steps down at some point here in the next couple of years, who do you think is going to be the guy? Who do you think it will be? And who would it be if you were the guy making the decision?
I mean, I think it'll be Jock Vaughn. I think that's why the AD brought him on this year. Former NBA coach, former Jayhawk great. So I think that's not a clear succession plan, but I think that's going to be the guy. That's not who I would hire. I would go hard after Nate Oates. I think Nate would be great at Kansas. I think you need a big personality. I think the playing style works. I think the other part of it, obviously, is it's Kansas. It's a basketball school where Nate has done an incredible job at a football school, but that's who I would hire.
Borzello?
I would have said Jock Vaughn. I think it's the logical replacement for what, you don't really bring him, a 2-time NBA coach, former star player. You don't bring them on, in the middle of spring to just kind of add to your staff. I think there is, not a written succession plan, but I think he's positioned himself pretty well to be the logical next guy there. I don't mind the Nate Oates shout. I mean, I think, and this kind of goes for, if Carolina opens or any of these big jobs, I think you're going to see Nate Oates, Todd Golden, Tommy Lloyd, Dusty May. I think those are kind of the names off the top of my head that would be in the mix for these, blue blood level jobs. I think that's kind of the quartet. Now, would any of them leave? Does it cost too much money? I don't know. But those are kind of the guys I would circle for a Carolina, a Kansas, something like that.
Give me who you think it's the Michigan State job and who you would hire if you were the guy making the decision. Let's just say Tom Izzo steps down at the end of the season.
Right.
Who you go?
I think the natural thought initially would be right away might be Drew Valentine. Just it takes that's it. But I will say this. I'm gonna say something crazy, and I know you guys will laugh at me when this happens.
No, I love when you're
he's gonna say Draymond Green, isn't he?
It would. Yes, I was gonna say if he was to stick around for a couple of years, it would not surprise me if he did something crazy like when he retired and he brings Draymond back. It would not surprise me at all to bring somebody like that back when Draymond retired. Like it was probably with their relationship that they both planned it together. Like, all right, I'm gonna step down. You're gonna retire. Come here and coach Michigan State. But no, I think Drew Valentine's the natural.
So wait,
do you know how much fun it would be if
you want Carolina to hire Rasheed Wallace? Do you want Carolina to hire Rasheed?
That's more of a natural transaction from Tom Izzo to. Are you kidding me? Like Tom Izzo and Draymond Green, it's like the same person. It's like That's the same guy.
I will say, can you imagine what college basketball would be like if Draymond Green gets the Michigan State job and he turns it into like
I would pray for it.
Michigan
I
State
would
Bowl?
pray that he would do that.
It would be so much fun. Draymond Green talking all his shit
That's my wish
with a
list.
Michigan State team that's consistently top 10 would be unbelievable theater. I wish. Can you imagine him going on his podcast after every game?
No, he just would do it at a press conference now. He would do it at his press conference now.
Oh, man, that'd be great. Borzello, Michigan State, what do you got?
I think Drew Valentine's probably the logical one. Again, I mean, if would Nate Oates return to the state of Michigan? I mean, he might be in a better spot now. And that's the other thing is a lot of these, the Goldens and the Tommy Lloyds and the Oates, like they're in great jobs and they're in, arguably better situations than Michigan State from a resources perspective. And so I do think that.
Are they right now?
I mean,
are they right now? Now they probably will be in a couple of years, but I'm not sure right now that Alabama next year is going to have the rev share.
You might be right
maybe
about
Michigan State would,
but
I hear you.
I mean,
I'm with you. Like, to me, Drew Valentine's probably the guy. You guys haven't said the connection there, but obviously he was a GA for Tom Izzo. His brother Denzel played for Tom Izzo and starred for Tom Izzo. So I think Drew's got the inside track there. But yes, I would go after Nate Oates. Yeah. That would be my first call.
Nate's going to be at the top of everyone.
Yeah. What job would Nate Oates not be your first call?
Right.
I mean, not many. Not many. Look at what he's done in Alabama. Like, deservedly so. When you compare Nate Oates' resume to most other guys that are maybe gettable, yeah, like he's above all of them. I mean, he's done a lot more than Drew Valentine. No, I mean that's no knock on Drew.
Goodman, give me a name for Michigan State.
I just did, didn't I? You've been
Is
sleeping?
Drew?
He gave you the same name, Rob.
Michigan State. And you're gonna the next one you're gonna ask is Oregon. Oregon, I have no names for. I don't know if there's not a Jock Vaughn or a Drew Valentine where it's what do you got? What, Luke Jackson, Luke Ridnour?
Go just hire World Wide West.